Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am making a Guyanese style chow mein recipe, and this video is actually going to be done in collaboration with another Caribbean YouTuber and foodie by the name of What's in the Pot, aka Shaan on both YouTube and Instagram. So you guys should definitely check him out. He's a Trini foodie, and his version of a chow mein is obviously gonna have a little Trini spin on it, and mine is gonna have a little bit of a Guyanese flair to it. So go ahead and check out his video. I'm gonna leave the link to his channel as well as his Instagram in the description box below, so you can go ahead and check it out. So let's get right to cooking. So for this recipe, I'm using 1 pack of beef boneless blade steak. And to marinate my beef, I've used a couple of pieces of ginger, some thyme, some green seasoning, some blended up garlic and onion seasoning, also some MSG, some Chinese spice, some all-purpose seasoning, dark soy sauce, as well as oyster sauce, Montreal steak seasoning, as well as some chili powder. If you'd like to know the exact measurements I used for this recipe, you can go ahead and click the description box down below, because I have all of the ingredients plus the measurements listed there. Now I'm just going to mix this in. You can use a spoon, you can use your hands, and just mix in all of the seasonings so it marries very well with the beef. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of sweet soy sauce to my beef as well. So now I've just added some oil to my pressure cooker, because I'm going to use my pressure cooker to cook the beef that I just marinated. Once my oil is hot, I'm going to go ahead and add my beef to my pressure cooker. And what I'm going to do is allow my beef to brown on both sides before I start pressuring it. So it's been about only 2 minutes, and my beef is already nice and browned on both sides. But before I add some water to cook it with, I'm going to allow it to dry down in its own water that the beef has sprung up itself before adding my hot water to it and covering my pot to cook it. So once my beef has dried down a little, meaning that the water that it naturally springs on its own has evaporated, I'm going to go ahead and add 1/2 cup of hot water from my kettle to help cook this meat by pressuring it. Once I've added my 1/2 cup of hot water, I'm going to go ahead and close my pressure cooker. Now, once it starts pressuring, you can hear that noise, but you can also see steam coming out from the pressure pot itself. And also an indication that it is pressuring is if you pull out the pressure pot knob here, there's steam that's coming forth, and also you hear that noise that indicates that it's pressuring as well. So you're gonna go ahead and lower your heat, and you can just put on your kitchen timer or time it on your phone if you want, and I'm just gonna time it for 10 minutes, and I'm gonna allow it to cook for 10 minutes. So as my beef cooks, I'm just going to move on to preparing my chow mein. Today I'm using 1 pack of Imam Chowmein. That's the brand. It's also going to be in the description box below. Once I've brought my water in my pot to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and add my chow mein to it. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt to it as well. I'm going to leave it uncovered for about 7 minutes to cook. So at this point my beef is done. I just took it off the stove, and I'm going to run it under some cold water until all of the steam that's inside of the pot is released. You definitely don't want to open it when the steam is still inside. It's dangerous. It can fly up in your face. It's not a good situation. So you just want to make sure that all the steam is released from the pot before you go ahead and open it. Another trick my mom taught me to figure out if there's still steam in your pot is that you can go ahead and use a spoon to lift up the little knob on the pressure cooker. As you can hear, there's still steam inside, that noise that you're hearing, and you don't want to open your pot yet. So you're just going to continue to allow it to run under some cold water. The steam has finally been released from inside of my pot. As you can hear, there's no longer any steam coming out when I push the knob up. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up my pressure cooker and check on my beef. I'm just gonna go ahead and taste it, not only for flavor, but also to see the texture of my beef as well at this point. So after tasting it for both flavor and for texture, it's fine. As you can see, it's a really nice chunk of meat packed with flavor. So my beef is done, and now I'm gonna move on to actually sauteing my vegetables that are gonna be used for my chow mein. So I'm gonna go ahead and add about 1 spoon of oil to my frying pan, and I'm going to saute up my vegetables once my pan is hot. Now once my pan is hot, I'm gonna go ahead and add my 5 cloves of garlic. And I'm just going to lower my heat. At the same time I'm adding my 5 cloves of garlic, I'm also adding 2 chopped chili peppers as well. Now I'm going to let my cloves of garlic and my pepper saute for about a couple of seconds before I go ahead and add my beef to it. Now the reason that I'm adding my beef to my frying pan as well is because I want all of that delicious gravy and flavor to also marry with all of the vegetables. The next vegetable that I'm going to add is 1 chopped carrot, and as you can see, they've been chopped in a long like shape, and the reason is because when you're making chow mein, you usually cut your vegetables, well that's how my mom taught me anyhow, you usually cut your vegetables in a long shape. Now after I've added my carrots, I'm also going to go ahead and add my bora to the mix as well. Another name for bora is what we call it in Guyana, but they're long green beans as well. And the reason I added my carrots and my bora as one of the first vegetables is because they take the longest to cook. So when you're cooking, that's something else my mom taught me, is you want to add the vegetables that take the longest to cook first. I just realized that my fan was on, so if it was sort of noisy in the background, I apologize, but I just took it off. So my carrots and my bora have been sauteing in there for about 2 minutes, and now I'm gonna go ahead and add my 1 cup of corn. Now after I add my corn, I'm just gonna go in with 1 tablespoon of chow mein seasoning, and the brand that I'm using is Chief. But once again, all of my measurements and the ingredients and also links to the brand that I use are going to be in the description box below. So I'm going to stir that in. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of MSG, and like I say in most of my videos, MSG is definitely optional. It's something that I'm used to putting in my food, and it is definitely something that you can put in your food as well if you so choose. I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple pumps of black pepper. I'm going to add 1 yellow pepper that, if you notice, are also cut in a long shape as well, just like the carrots were. 1 red pepper, and also 1 stalk of celery. Gives it a nice crunch. Just gonna put my cover on, and it's on a low heat. So I've had that covered and cooking for about 4 minutes, and at this point I'm just going to add a couple more seasonings. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of Chinese spice. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of Chinese sauce, and I'm also going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of oyster sauce as well. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and, as usual, mix in all of those seasonings so they can marry together. I just wanted to show you guys how the chow mein looked all plated. There's such a beautiful medley of vegetables and beef and sauciness and spices and everything that I love about food.